Hi, mystery writers. Welcome to Write a Killer Mystery. I'm Zara Altair, and today I want to talk about how planning actually speeds up writing your story. First, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for their continued support of this video series and my mystery writing. And if you'd like to join us, there's a link in the description below. Okay, let's just talk about what goes on with planning and how it actually helps you write faster once you get some basic things planned out. Um, you can plan out major plot points. What are the main plot points of your story, the inciting incident, the main turning points, and of course the climax and the end of the big reveal of your story. And this plot skeleton ensures that all the pieces are in place before you delve into writing that first draft, because as we talk about a lot, things change as you actually write, but you do want to know those major plot points. Also, you want to think about how to connect those major events in a logical way so that your scenes are going to progress from one plot point to the next plot point. And as you do this, look for opportunities to lay foundations for twists that help keep your reader engaged with your story. So you can add the foreshadowing and subtle clues that make those plot developments more satisfying for your readers. You just keep filling in more information, and you do it around that skeleton of the major plot points. So as you refine that story outline, you can continue editing and rearranging those plot points to improve the flow and pace of your story. This is one of the ways that planning things out beforehand really helps you get an idea of which scenes are going to be intense and which scenes are going to be a little more thoughtful. And that well-planned mystery is what you end up with in something that engages your readers. So before you start writing, take some time to plan that perfect crime on paper, or what we do now is with our computers. All right. One of the first things you can do is create a cast of characters ready for their close up in your story. Every good story pivots around its characters, and we talk about that a lot here in Write a Killer Mystery, and it's so true. So, to bring your characters to life, you want to give them room to develop throughout your story, but you need to plan who they are and what role they fulfill before you start writing. So here's some tips about what you can think about your characters as you're getting ready and who they are in your story. Um, Start by listing all the major characters and their role in the plot. So you're going to have your victim, your primary suspects, your detective, and of course your antagonist or the villain. So you want to have a really good grasp of who those characters are in your story. All right. Um, and then draft a character profile for each of those major characters. Jot down their key details, their occupation, their personality. You can even add things like speech patterns and things they say that makes them instantly recognizable in dialogue, their personality, their quotes. You want to know their backstory. Um, and especially for suspects, you want to know the secrets that they want to keep hidden, because those are things that are going to come out as your story progresses. Um, and you want to know each character's story context. We've talked about that before, so you don't overlap characters. Each character has a role in fulfilling their story requirements. So you want to make sure that you know what each character's role is in your stories. And these character backgrounds really create a foundation for you to get to work on writing your mystery. And then as you plot those major scenes, those major plot points we talked about, you can consider how each character would react and what motivates their actions in each of those major scenes. When you do this, it really gives you, um, what can I say? It gives you the impetus, I guess, as you're going from one major plot point to the next major plot point, and you know how the character acted at this major plot point and how they're going to act in that next major plot point. So as you're building up with the chapters in between, you have an idea of where you want that character to be emotionally when they get to that next plot point. Um, and then also look for opportunities for your characters to grow and change inside the story. And even minor characters can do this. And they can surprise readers with their hidden character traits. So just play around a lot with developing your characters. Taking time to plan your characters before you start writing will ensure that they drive that plot forward and you really have a good idea of who they are and how they're going to react in every situation that you bring up in your plot. All right. Also, you want to plot your setting, where your story takes place. People think about, noir mysteries with their dark city streets and seedy bars, but every mystery has its own setting, and you want to be familiar with it, and you want to know about it, and you want to be able to bring it vividly to life as your characters act within the setting. So, do your research, dive into books, do online research, look at photos, look at videos of the places that you're going to use in your story. And I know I've mentioned this before. If your story takes place in your hometown, make sure you really know your hometown and where your characters are going to be and where they live and where major plot scenes are going to take place and what it's like. And of course, you can go out and take your own photos for aid memoir as you're writing your story. All right. Also, it's a good idea to map it out. Map where you are, map where your characters are. Um, so, sketch a map of important locations in your story and how those locations relate to each other, and also how long it's going to take your characters to go from one place to the next place. An actual visual map really helps you with this. It takes them 5 minutes to drive, half hour to walk, whatever it is that, so you really have an idea of how time passes in your story, and time is part of your setting details. All right. um, and also, to bring your story to life, you want to look at the sensory details in the setting because they impact how the characters act within each scene. So you want the sound, the smell, the texture, the taste, um, and get those immersive elements in your story. All right. And then also, you want to consider how the setting reflects the plot and impacts and shapes key events. And does the isolation of a rural cabin, for example, heighten the tension as your main character approaches? Um, and then also revisit and revise. Get these basic setting details down and collected, and then as your story progresses, you may or may not use them. I know I mention this often, but about 20% of your research actually shows up in your story, but that other 80% gives you the opportunity to pull details out when you need them. All right. So that's it for planning planning your setting, and then your research brings your setting and your characters to life. So build research into your initial plot outline so you have time to seek out the needed details, the facts, the opinions, get opinions of experts, and this keeps you from scrambling for information as you're writing the story. And also, I know that as you're writing the story, unforeseen events happen. Characters say things you didn't expect them to say, or act in a way you didn't expect when you were plotting things out. So, it may be the case that you will need to find some extra research details later, but try to get the major details all set before you get going, all right? When you're doing research, really stay focused. Resist the urge to go deeper, deeper, deeper down those rabbit holes. Just concentrate on what you need to be able to plan your story. All right. And then consult um, resources. What I find and what most of the writers that I've spoken with find is that people who are experts are often very willing to share their information. So don't be shy. Just tell them you're writing a novel and you need some more information on whatever it is that you need more information in. I found that most people are incredibly generous with their knowledge. All right. Okay, so basically, what you want to do is get all these things lined up. You want to outline your way to writing faster, writing that great mystery. So, uh, you want to map that plot architecture, note your key events in the story, and have those in hand before you start writing. Um, you can plan foreshadowing, so that's something that happens earlier in your story will have some impact later on in the story. You want to pace the action. Too much action makes readers tired, so you want to be able to alternate intense action scenes with reflective scenes. Um, and you want to develop your characters and know who they are and really have a good grasp of them. So as you come up with ideas for scenes, because you know your characters so well, you'll know exactly how they're going to act in a certain situation. And then one thing that helps is when you're writing is to edit as you go, and I've talked about that in other episodes. But basically, overall, doing some beforehand planning will really have you all set up to really get going with your writing once you decide to write. So just become an outlining machine to make your mystery great. Planning and outlining are key skills for writers, and they're especially for writers with mysteries because mysteries are very plot based. And so if you know those key details, it really helps you get from one key detail to the next detail. So planning the plot, the characters, the setting, and the research, as much as you can do all of those things beforehand, it's really going to help you when you actually get down and start writing your mystery. All right, thank you very much for being here. One thing I want to mention about pulling all these things together is there's an online tool called Plotter where you can put all these things together. You have your story outline, you have your characters, you have your setting, and any research notes. You can all keep them all in Plotter so you can refer to Plotter as you're writing your story. And there's a link to a free trial in the description below. All right, thank you so much. Have fun planning your mystery, and I will see you next week. Keep writing.